Neighbor's wife spread rumors. I was an escort, her husband was my client. I showed the screenshots right there at the HOA meeting. Every single inappropriate text her husband had sent me over 8 months. The room went dead silent as she read message after message on the projector screen. My name is Melissa Chang. I'm 34 years old, and I work as a freelance graphic designer from my home office in Rosewood Heights, a quiet suburban neighborhood in Colorado. That Tuesday night, October 15th at exactly 7:43 p.m., I watched my neighbor Patricia Williams's face turn from smug satisfaction to absolute horror as she realized her perfect marriage was built on lies and that her campaign to destroy my reputation had just backfired spectacularly. "This can't be real. David wouldn't. These are fake," she whispered, her voice cracking as she scrolled through months of her husband's attempts to solicit me for what he called private design sessions in hotel rooms. The irony was devastating. For 3 weeks, Patricia had been telling everyone in our neighborhood that I was running an escort service from my house. The truth? Her husband David had been propositioning me since February, and I had saved every single message. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. I moved to Rosewood Heights 2 years ago after my divorce, buying a modest 3-bedroom house with my settlement money. The neighborhood was perfect. Tree-lined streets, families with kids riding bikes, the kind of place where people actually knew their neighbors' names. I set up my home office in the converted garage and built a successful freelance business, designing everything from restaurant logos to wedding invitations. Life was quiet, productive, and exactly what I needed after the chaos of my marriage ending. I worked with clients across 3 time zones, often taking calls at odd hours. My driveway frequently had delivery trucks bringing supplies, and I occasionally met clients at my home office to discuss projects. To most observers, I was just another remote worker living the suburban dream. The Williams family lived directly across the street in a large colonial with a perfectly manicured lawn. David Williams, 42, worked in commercial real estate and drove a BMW that he washed every Saturday morning. Patricia Williams, 39, was a stay-at-home mom who seemed to monitor neighborhood activities like it was her full-time job. They had 2 kids, Emma, 14, and Jacob, 11, who were polite but rarely allowed to play outside unsupervised. I first met Patricia at the neighborhood's annual 4th of July barbecue last year. She seemed friendly enough, asking about my work and commenting on how brave I was to live alone. David was charming in that overly confident way some successful men are, making sure to mention his latest commercial deals and the vacation home they were buying in Aspen. "You graphic designers must make good money these days," he had said, looking at my house with a calculating expression. "Maybe we should talk about some marketing materials for my firm." I gave him my business card, thinking nothing of it. The first inappropriate message came on February 12th at 11:47 p.m. "Hey Melissa, working late tonight? I drive by sometimes and see your lights on. We should grab coffee and discuss that project. Somewhere private where we can really focus. DWW." I responded professionally, suggesting we schedule a meeting at my office to discuss his needs. His next message came 3 days later. "Office seems so formal. I was thinking more like dinner, just the 2 of us. I bet you're more fun outside of work mode." That's when I realized David Williams wasn't interested in graphic design. I screenshot every message and saved them in a folder labeled Legal Documentation. 23 years of marriage to a cheating ex-husband had taught me that evidence was everything. I responded with a clear professional message stating I only discussed business during office hours and suggested he contact me through official channels if he needed design work. David didn't stop. If anything, my boundaries seemed to encourage him. Over the next 6 months, the messages escalated. Lunch invitations with suggestive comments, late-night texts asking if I was lonely in that big house, photos of expensive restaurant receipts with messages like, "Wish I was treating someone special tonight." The most explicit came on August 3rd. "I know women like you need financial support. I'm very generous with ladies who know how to appreciate a successful man. Patricia doesn't have to know about our arrangement." I never responded to any of the inappropriate messages. I documented each one with timestamps and continued living my quiet life. Some nights I'd see him washing his BMW while staring at my house, or taking out trash when I returned from grocery shopping. Once, I caught him standing at his bedroom window at 1:30 a.m. when I was working late, just watching. I considered going to Patricia directly, but something held me back. Maybe it was the memory of confronting my ex-husband's affair partner, only to have both of them blame me for not meeting his needs. Maybe it was Patricia's tendency to gossip with other neighbors. I decided to wait and see if David would eventually give up. That was my mistake. On September 23rd, everything changed. I was at Kroger around 2 p.m. when I noticed two women from the neighborhood, Janet from the corner house and Susie from 3 doors down, whispering and staring at me near the produce section. When I smiled and waved, they quickly looked away and moved to a different aisle. Walking back to my car, I heard Janet stage whisper to Susie, "I just can't believe it's happening right in our neighborhood." Patricia said she has actual proof. My stomach dropped, but I couldn't have imagined what was coming. The next morning, my longtime client Robert Chen called to cancel a $12,000 website project we'd been planning for months. "Look, Melissa, this is awkward, but someone contacted my wife claiming you run some kind of escort business. She's insisting I find another designer. I'm sorry, but I have to think about my marriage." I was speechless. After Robert hung up, I sat in my office staring at the wall, trying to process what was happening. An hour later, another client called with the same story. Then another. By noon, I'd lost $31,000 worth of projects. That's when I decided to investigate. I started with social media. Patricia Williams wasn't subtle about her digital footprint. Her Facebook was public, and I could see her recent activity in local neighborhood groups. What I found made my blood run cold. Patricia had been busy. Very busy. In the Rosewood Heights Safety Watch group, she'd posted, "Concerned neighbors should be aware of suspicious activity at 1247 Maple Court. Multiple men visiting at all hours. Not typical contractor-client behavior. Protecting our children is our responsibility." In Colorado Springs Moms Network. Has anyone else dealt with inappropriate businesses operating from residential areas? Asking for a friend whose neighborhood is being affected. The most damaging post was, in Local Business Review, Colorado Springs. Avoid Melissa Chang Design Services. This woman operates more than a graphic design business, if you know what I mean. Spoke to several former clients who confirmed suspicions. Protect your husbands, ladies. 43 women had reacted to that post. 17 had shared it. Screenshot everything, adding it to my growing digital folder. Then I did something Patricia clearly hadn't expected. I went legal. My divorce attorney, Hannah Rodriguez, took my call immediately when I explained the situation. "Melissa, this is textbook defamation with quantifiable damages, but I'm more concerned about something else. You mentioned her husband has been propositioning you?" I sent Hannah the entire folder, 8 months of David's inappropriate messages, Patricia's social media campaign, documentation of lost business, and financial records showing the exact amount of damage to my income. Hannah's response was swift. "We're not just dealing with defamation here. David's behavior constitutes sexual harassment, and Patricia's campaign might be deliberate misdirection. I suspect she knows exactly what her husband's been doing." That possibility hadn't occurred to me, but it made perfect sense. Patricia was a stay-at-home mom who monitored everything in the neighborhood. There was no way she hadn't noticed her husband's sudden interest in the woman across the street. Hannah suggested something brilliant. "The next HOA meeting is scheduled for October 15th, right? I think it's time to clear your name publicly. But we're going to need to be strategic about this." For 3 weeks, Patricia's rumor campaign continued. I lost 2 more clients and noticed neighbors crossing the street to avoid me during my morning walks. Someone left an anonymous note on my car windshield that read, "Decent women don't conduct business at midnight. Move somewhere more appropriate for your lifestyle." Throughout it all, David kept texting. "Heard you're having some business troubles. Still interested in that private arrangement? I take care of my friends." October 1st, 9:23 p.m. "Patricia's been stressed lately. Maybe we could help each other relax? I know a quiet hotel downtown." October 7th, 2:15 p.m. The audacity was breathtaking. His wife was destroying my reputation while he tried to turn the situation to his advantage, but I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Hannah and I spent hours preparing for the HOA meeting. Colorado's residential community guidelines were specific about defamation between neighbors, and Patricia's social media campaign violated several clauses in our neighborhood covenant. More importantly, presenting evidence at an official HOA meeting created legal documentation that would support our upcoming defamation suit. "We're not just clearing your name, Melissa," Hannah explained. "We're building an ironclad case for damages." Patricia Williams is about to learn that destroying someone's livelihood has consequences. October 15th arrived with unusual fanfare. Word had spread through the neighborhood's gossip network that there would be significant discussion about residential business operations. Patricia had been telling people she had definitive proof of inappropriate activities at my address. The meeting was held in the community center at 7 p.m. I arrived at 7:02 p.m. with Hannah, my laptop, a portable projector, and a folder containing printed copies of everything. Patricia was sitting in the front row with David, practically glowing with anticipation. 26 neighbors attended, the highest turnout in Rosewood Heights HOA history. Brad Morrison, our HOA president, called the meeting to order and immediately addressed the elephant in the room. We're here tonight to discuss concerns raised about business activities in our residential community. Patricia Williams has requested time to present information to the board. Patricia stood up with her own folder, smiling confidently. She'd dressed in a conservative navy dress and pulled her hair back severely, the picture of concerned motherhood. Thank you, Brad. As many of you know, I've been monitoring suspicious activities at 1247 Maple Court. Ms. Chang claims to run a graphic design business, but evidence suggests she's operating an entirely different kind of service. She opened her folder and began reading from what she claimed were witness statements. Multiple neighbors have reported strange men visiting her house at all hours. Mrs. Henderson saw someone leaving at 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. Mr. Garcia noticed luxury cars in her driveway during his morning jogs. These aren't normal business patterns. Patricia was building her case methodically, and I had to admit she was more prepared than I'd expected. She continued for 10 minutes, describing unusual activity patterns and inappropriate late-night visitors. Then she made her fatal mistake. I even have testimony from someone who contacted Ms. Chang directly about her services. The conversation was highly inappropriate and confirms what we all suspected. That's when I knew she was lying. No one had contacted me about escort services because I wasn't providing escort services. Patricia was fabricating evidence. I caught Hannah's eye and nodded. "Thank you, Patricia," Brad said when she finished. "Ms. Chang, would you like to respond to these allegations?" I stood up slowly, pulling out my laptop and connecting the projector. The white wall behind the HOA board table became my presentation screen. Yes, I would. And I think everyone deserves to see the full truth about this situation. The first slide showed my business registration, tax records, and client testimonials from the past 2 years. Professional, legitimate, documented. I've been running a licensed graphic design business from my home office since 2022. I work with restaurants, small businesses, and individuals who need creative services. My clients include Chen's Asian Fusion, Morrison Law Firm, and Westfield Ace. Wedding planning, all local businesses that can verify my professional services. I clicked to the next slide showing my business hours, client meeting protocols, and professional references. I understand there's been concern about visitors to my home. These are clients coming for consultations, delivery drivers bringing supplies, and occasionally food deliveries when I'm working late. Nothing inappropriate, nothing unusual for a home-based business. Patricia was nodding along, looking satisfied. She thought this was just standard denial. Then I dropped the first bomb. However, I am concerned about how these rumors started, particularly because I have 8 months of documentation showing exactly why someone might want to damage my reputation. The next slide showed David Williams' first inappropriate text message, projected large enough for everyone to read. The room went dead silent. This message came from David Williams on February 12th at 11:47 p.m. As you can see, he's propositioning me for a private meeting that has nothing to do with graphic design. I could hear Patricia's sharp intake of breath, but I didn't look at her. I clicked to the next slide. Here's his message from February 15th, escalating the inappropriate contact. Another click, another message. February 20th, February 28th, March 7th. Click, click, click. Each message more explicit than the last. The room was so quiet I could hear the projector's cooling fan humming. March 15th, March 22nd, April 3rd. Patricia made a small choking sound. April 18th, May the 2nd, May 11th. I continued methodically through 8 months of her husband's attempts to solicit sexual services from me. Every message time-stamped, every screenshot preserved, every escalation documented. The August 3rd message about financial arrangements caused several people to gasp audibly. September 5th, September 18th, and as recently as October 7th. 8 days ago, Mr. Williams sent this message suggesting we meet at a downtown hotel. I finally looked directly at Patricia. She was staring at the screen with her mouth slightly open, her face completely pale. I never responded to any of these inappropriate messages except to redirect Mr. Williams to professional channels. I documented everything because I've learned that evidence matters when someone tries to damage your reputation. Then I clicked to the next section of slides. Speaking of reputation damage, let me show you how this rumor campaign actually started. Patricia's Facebook posts appeared on The screen. Every vicious comment, every innuendo, every calculated attempt to destroy my business. Mrs. Williams has been systematically posting on social media platforms, claiming I operate an escort service. These posts have been shared 43 times and have directly resulted in the loss of $31,000 worth of business contracts. I have documentation from clients who specifically mentioned these rumors when canceling projects. I showed the business cancellation emails, the financial records, the screenshots of shared posts. This is defamation with quantifiable damages, all based on rumors started by a woman whose husband has been sexually harassing me for 8 months. The final slide was the most damaging. October 1st, 7 days after Mrs. Williams' most vicious social media post, her husband sent me this message offering to help with my business troubles in exchange for sexual services. The timing suggests coordination between Mr. and Mrs. Williams to damage my reputation in order to make me financially vulnerable to David's propositions. I turned off the projector and faced the room. I'm not running an escort service. I'm a legitimate businesswoman who's been sexually harassed by a neighbor and then defamed by his wife when I didn't respond to his advances. Everything I've shown you tonight will be presented in court as evidence in my defamation lawsuit against Patricia Williams and sexual harassment charges against David Williams. The silence was deafening. Patricia finally found her voice. These are fake. David wouldn't. Someone could have made these up. Hannah stood up for the first time. Mrs. Williams, I'm Hannah Rodriguez, Ms. Chang's attorney. These messages were extracted directly from phone records that will be subpoenaed as evidence. Text message metadata is extremely difficult to fake and easy to verify through telecommunications providers. We welcome forensic examination of every single screenshot. David Williams, who hadn't said a word since the projection started, suddenly stood up. I think there's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding, Mr. Williams, is your belief that you could sexually harass my client without consequences. Hannah replied coolly. We'll be filing charges with the police department tomorrow morning. That's when Patricia Williams fell apart completely. You bitch, she screamed at me. You seduced him. You led him on. Women like you destroy families. Mrs. Williams, Brad Morrison interrupted, you need to calm down immediately or leave the meeting. I'm not leaving. This whore has been trying to steal my husband. The irony was perfect. Patricia Williams was proving my case better than any evidence I could have presented. Hannah was recording everything on her phone. Please continue, Mrs. Williams. This kind of aggressive behavior toward harassment victims will be excellent evidence of intentional malice in our defamation suit. That seemed to snap Patricia back to reality. She looked around the room at 26 neighbors staring at her with various expressions of shock, disgust, and pity. David, tell them. Tell them these messages are fake. David Williams was examining his shoes like they held the secrets of the universe. David! He finally looked up at his wife, and I saw something pass between them. Recognition. Resignation. The end of whatever story they'd been telling themselves about their marriage. I think we should go home, Patricia. No, not until she admits. She's lying. Not until everyone knows what she really is. But the room had already made its judgment. I could see it in their faces. Mrs. Henderson, who had been Patricia's primary ally in the rumor campaign, was shaking her head slowly. Janet and Susie wouldn't make eye contact with Patricia at all. Brad Morrison called for order. Based on the evidence presented tonight, the HOA board finds no violation of residential business guidelines by Ms. Chang. Furthermore, we strongly discourage any continued harassment of Ms. Chang by any community members. This meeting is adjourned. As people filed out, several neighbors approached me privately. Robert Chen's wife apologized and said they'd like to restart our website project. Mrs. Henderson admitted she'd gotten caught up in gossip without facts. 3 other neighbors asked for my business card, saying they'd been wanting to redesign their company logos but couldn't approach me during the controversy. Patricia and David Williams left quickly through the back exit, but not before I heard Patricia hiss at her husband. 20 years of marriage, David. 20 years, and you threw it away for that slut across the street. Hannah packed up our materials with professional efficiency. That went even better than expected. Patricia Williams just demonstrated intentional malice and ongoing harassment in front of 26 witnesses. David Williams admitted guilt through non-denial. We have everything we need for both cases. The next morning, Hannah filed a formal defamation lawsuit against Patricia Williams seeking $85,000 in damages, lost business, reputation repair, emotional distress, and legal fees. We also filed sexual harassment charges against David Williams with the Colorado Springs Police Department. The police took the case seriously. Detective Maria Santos explained that David's messages constituted criminal harassment under Colorado statute, especially the financially coercive elements. Men often think text messages aren't real evidence, Detective Santos told me. They're always shocked when we show up with printed copies of everything they thought was private. David Williams was arrested at his office on October 18th. The local newspaper's business section ran a brief item about a commercial real estate broker arrested on harassment charges, which his company probably appreciated about as much as Patricia had enjoyed our HOA meeting. But the real consequences were just beginning. Patricia Williams filed for divorce that Friday night. I know because the process server mistakenly came to my house first, looking for someone connected to the Williams divorce proceedings. Apparently, Patricia had listed me as a material witness to infidelity in her filing. My mailbox became a fascinating source of neighborhood intelligence over the next few weeks. I received a handwritten note from Emma Williams, their 14-year-old daughter. Ms. Chang, I'm sorry my parents caused you trouble. My dad was wrong to bother you. I hope you don't think all the Williams family are bad. Another note came from David's mother, who apparently lived in Denver. Dear Ms. Chang, David's father and I are horrified by our son's behavior. We raised him better than this. Please accept our apologies and know that his actions don't represent our family values. The most surprising correspondence came from Patricia's sister in Phoenix. Melissa, Patricia showed me your evidence from the HOA meeting. I've been telling her for years that David was a cheater, but she wouldn't listen. Thank you for finally forcing the truth into the open. My sister needs to face reality instead of blaming other women for her husband's problems. Within 6 weeks, the Williams house had a for sale sign in the front yard. David had moved into a downtown apartment, and Patricia was living in the house with the kids, working at Target to pay bills while the divorce proceeded. I felt genuinely bad for Emma and Jacob. They were good kids caught in their parents' mess. The White defamation lawsuit took 3 months to resolve. Patricia's attorney recommended settlement after reviewing our evidence, probably realizing that taking 8 months of explicit text messages and documented business losses to a jury would be financial suicide for his client. Patricia Williams paid me $4,700 in damages plus court costs. She also signed a legal agreement promising never to contact me, discuss me publicly, or post about me on social media platforms. Violation would result in immediate additional penalties of $25,000. David Williams pled guilty to criminal harassment charges and received 2 years probation, mandatory counseling, and a permanent restraining order preventing contact with me. He lost his real estate license during the investigation when it came out that he'd been using his business phone for personal harassment. The ripple effects continued for months. David's real estate firm quietly let him go after the criminal charges became public. Patricia's Instagram influencer dreams died when her followers discovered her defamation lawsuit through public court records. But life moved on, as it always does. My business recovered stronger than ever. The neighborhood drama had actually increased. My visibility and several new clients specifically mentioned hiring me because I'd handled that situation with such professionalism. By Christmas, my revenue was 40% higher than the previous year. The Williams house sold in February to a lovely family with twin boys who actually play outside unsupervised. Patricia moved to Colorado Springs to live with her sister and start over. David took a job in insurance sales in Denver, probably networking at whatever bars divorced men in their 40s frequent these days. I still live at 1247 Maple Court. My business is thriving, my reputation is intact, and my home office overlooks a quiet street where neighbors wave when they see each other. The irony wasn't lost on me. Patricia Williams destroyed her marriage trying to destroy mine, all because she couldn't face the truth about her husband's character. She chose to attack me instead of dealing with David's betrayal, and ended up losing everything she was trying to protect. I learned something valuable about suburban warfare. Documentation beats drama every single time. While Patricia was posting on Facebook, I was saving screenshots. While she was gossiping with neighbors, I was building legal evidence. While she was attacking my character, I was letting her husband's own words speak the truth. Sometimes karma needs a spreadsheet and a good attorney, but it always finds its way home. The Williams family learned that destroying someone's livelihood has consequences. I learned that standing up for yourself with facts and evidence is always more powerful than engaging in gossip warfare. And our neighborhood learned that appearances can be deceiving. The perfect family with the manicured lawn had more problems than the quiet woman working from home ever would. 6 months later, I received one final piece of mail related to the Williams saga. It was a wedding invitation. Patricia was remarrying, a man she'd met at her new job in Colorado Springs. The invitation included a handwritten note. Melissa, I know this is strange, but I wanted to apologize again for everything that happened. David manipulated both of us, just in different ways. I should have talked to you directly instead of believing his lies about your advances toward him. I hope you can forgive me someday. Patricia. I never responded, but I kept the note. It was a reminder that sometimes the people who hurt us most are fighting battles we never knew about. These days, when new neighbors move in, they often ask about the previous owners of the Williams house. I just say the family relocated for work opportunities. No need to poison new relationships with old drama. But I still keep Hannah Rodriguez on speed dial, and I still screenshot anything that seems remotely suspicious. Some lessons are worth remembering. After all, in suburban neighborhoods, reputation is everything, and evidence is how you protect it.